Hi guys, over here. I hope you guys are doing great. So today I plan to demonstrate a very simple web application using Firebase and Streamlit. Out here Streamlit serves as the front end or as the user interface, whereas Firebase serves as the main storage unit or as the back end. Firebase is really helpful when you need to have a real-time data sync. Also, it's useful for multiple user authentication. It can also be used when we have to store any image or any TXT files or PDF files. So I have already built an app using Streamlit and Firebase. I plan to demonstrate that at first, and then later we will try to configure our Firebase console and try to integrate Firebase within our Python codes and try to build a web application using it. So first let's jump onto our web application and let's see how it looks. So I've built this very simple web application where I named it as a workplace post. So the main idea behind it is where a group of people or a community of people can come together. They just need to create their account and then they can share their posts and their ideas and also upload their profile photos or share some images out there. All they need to do is create an account out there, and all this data given by the user is stored in Firebase database. So let's create an account and let's see if we can just interact with the web application out here. So first I will actually create an account with a very random email. So let me put random@gmail.com. We put a password here and a username. So let's say user1, and then we create an account. So what we see, our account is created now. Once our account is created, we can actually log into it using this drop down menu. We press login and we just need to enter the checkbox, and now we are already in the home of the user1. Now we can make our first post here. So let's say this is my very first post in workplace post community. Let me give a nice smiley and then we share the post. So the post is shared. We see a lot of balloons and here we see the post out here. So what else we can do? We can actually go to the settings and upload a photo for this user. So for uploading the photo, all we need to do is copy the path from a local file and just paste it here. Here is our folder and I will just copy this particular path of this image and then I will paste it here. Click the upload button and we have uploaded a profile photo for user1. Now if we go to home, we can check the profile photo out here with the post which already there we made before. Now if we go to workplace feeds, here basically we can see feeds or already updated posts from our other colleagues or other people who are in the same database. So basically apart from user1, there is another user whose name is Ovro. So basically I've already created an account there. If I press show profile, I can see Ovro's profile photo and also one of the posts which Ovro has already made beforehand. So this is a very simple web application which brings people together, and users can create their account and then they can share their ideas and their views out there. So we'll now go how we can create this particular web application. In order to do that, first thing we need to do is we need to configure our Firestore console. So for doing that, we go to this website of Firebase, we go to console. So right now I was using this particular database which I named it as Streamlit Firestore demo. This is a project which I made. So we'll add a new project since we are rewriting the codes now. And I will add a project here. I just need to add a project name. So let's say test Firestore Streamlit. And we continue here. Once it's there, we again press continue. I think default account is fine and we press create account. This will take a bit of time in order to create. So we're already inside the project which we have created. Now we go to the project settings. If we scroll down below, we see there are no apps yet registered. So in order to register the app, we have to go for the web app registration. We see 3 options here. One of them is Android, another is the iOS, but we go for the third option. We click here and we give a name to our app. So let's say test app, and we just click register app. So once we click it, we'll get few configuration key. So we need to copy that configuration key and paste in our code. So here we see the configuration key. I copy from here until here. That's all. And then we press continue to console. So once we are inside console, we need to initiate few more stuffs. So one of them is the authentication. So authentication enables a lot of users to sign in here, and we get the user's information, user's email ID. So we press get started. Out here, we need to enable email and password. We press save. The other thing is the real-time database. So basically, whenever user is making a post or sharing a photo, all of them are fetched in this real-time database. So we create a database. We choose the Europe West one, a real-time database location, and we press next. We start in a test mode and we enable it. Last but not the least is the storage option. So for that, we press storage and we press get started. And next, let me choose the Europe West location, and we are done with it. So we created a bucket where all the images or the profile photos of the users will be stored now. Once these are done, we go to our code, we start writing few lines of codes, and then we can create this particular web app which I demonstrated in the beginning. But for today's video, I will just stick to the user authentication part. And for the coming or the part 2 of the video, I will show how to create the post and also check the other users' posts in the same database. So as you can see that I have already pasted the copied configuration key. I will paste it again, the real copied ones. So this was what we copied, but I made few more changes here. So I just added one quote here for all of these variables. Apart from that, I also added a database URL parameter. So from where I got this database URL parameter, so if we go to our project here and we go to real-time database, here we see this particular URL. You just need to copy this URL and paste it in your code. That's all. So let's start writing our codes. First and foremost, we need to import few modules. We import Pyrebase. Out here, Pyrebase is one of the most important module. We use Pyrebase in order to authenticate our app and also send real data to the real-time database. Pyrebase is basically a Python wrapper of Firebase. We also import Streamlit. And later we need datetime also. If we need more modules, we'll import it later. Now we need to initialize our app. So for that, we will write Firebase Firebase.initialize app, and we give the input as Firebase config key. Okay, and now we create the auth object. So auth equal to Firebase.auth. We also need to initialize our database. So we say db equal to Firebase.database. We also need storage later. We can initialize that now. Okay. With Streamlit.sidebar title, we say our community app. So we create a sidebar where we put this title. So in order to let multiple users authenticate, we give them a choice. So we give choice to them. Say streamlit.sidebar select box. So basically it will be a drop down where we name as login sign up, and then we put two options. One of them is login, another should be sign up. That's all. Now we give the option to input an email address of the user. So we say streamlit text input. Since we're doing everything inside the sidebar, I will add sidebar here, and we say please enter your email address. Along with email address, we also need a password from the user's end. So we again give a text input box. Yes, so that's all we need out here. So let's see how our app looks right now after we wrote these few lines of codes. So we save it here and we open our terminal and we just fire Streamlit here. So we write Streamlit run test.py, and if we now check our local server, it's already out here now. So we already have this drop down menu where user can either log in or sign up, and for signing up users need the email address and password. So those are all already here. So our app is actually working now. So let's continue. So let me minimize the terminal now. Let me go here. So if choice is sign up, we give the user an option to also choose his or her username or an handle name. So basically it's the app's handle name which the user can choose. Again we give a text input box. This input. We can give a default value here. So we say default. And then we give a submit button where the confirmation box that user can submit the email address, the password, and also the handle name. So we say streamlit.sidebar button, and we say create my account. So now if the user hit this submit button, what we do is we try to create an user with email ID and password. So we say user equal to, call the auth object, create user with email and password, and we give input as email and password. This we receive from the text input button out here. So once we have that, we throw information that st.success, and we say your account is created successfully. And also we throw some balloons in order to celebrate. Yes, so once this is done, let's first check how our app looks right now. So now if I go to this sign up option, we see there are two extra features which has popped up. One of them is for users handle name, where user can input his or her own handle name, and another is a create my account button. So when this button is clicked, then the user's account is created successfully. So we'll add few more lines of codes. By that we'll try to store all the information which we obtained from this sign up in our real-time database, and then we are done with this part of this web application where we can actually authenticate multiple users. So let's go back to the coding block. So now here we will try to sign in. So basically we will try to create a user variable, and we call the auth, and we will say sign in with email and password. Here we put email and password parameter which we obtained before, and then we will try to create a database. So if you look out here, we have a data structure, we have a database which we named as DB out here already, and then we give it a child which has this name called local ID, which we can actually call using this Pyrebase function, and each of this local ID will have subchild. One of them is handle and one of this ID. So let's try to write that down here. So I will paste it here. So we have a database, then we create a child which has the local ID basically, and then it has a subchild which we name as handle, and inside that handle we put this parameter which we get before the user's handle name. Now we will add further one more subchild within this local ID, which will again name as local ID, the subchild, and instead of handle out here we will put as ID, as we mentioned in this particular diagram, and then we set that ID as the user's local ID. So out here we're basically trying to keep a copy of user's local ID. That's all. So once this is done, we'll add few more lines of code. So one of them is we'll try to throw user information that welcome, you are successfully, your account is created. So we say welcome, and we put user's handle name, and we also give user information that login via something like the login drop down, like we just guide him or her how to log in now further. That's all. So now let's look how our app looks like. So for that I'll go to the local browser. So it's a random email @gmail.com, and we put some password here, and we can also actually give a username, or let's say first user, and we press create my account. So if you do that, the account is created, there is some welcome message, and we direct the user how to log in further. Now the most important part is if we go back to our Firebase data storage, if we go back here and we refresh this part, we do that, we see our first user's email ID is stored here with this user's UID. It's a very unique ID which automatically Firebase produces. But if we go to real-time database, we see the tree structure which I've already shown you. So here is the user's local ID, and then the user's handle name, and also we keep a copy of user's local ID. So we can actually authenticate multiple users in this space. We can add one more Gmail ID. Lets me keep the same password, and we say user 2, and we again create the account. So again the account is created. We go back to our console. In real time we see the user's handle stored under the user's local ID, and if we go to authentication now, we see another email is out already there. So this was the first part of the web application, and this is mainly related to user authentication. So in the next part of the video, we'll try to allow user to log in using his own email ID and password. We will try to decorate the home page. We'll create a settings page where user can upload his or her own profile photo, and also the workplace feeds where user can check other users in the same community, which will be stored within this database. So I'll be happy if you guys leave your comment and your modification to the codes. Of course, there are a number of better way to modify this code and do it much faster and much easier and much more seamless way. So I'll be glad to receive those comments and feedbacks. So together we will try to finish up this interview application. See you in the next part of this video.